The best people to ask about the Native Americans, about how they lived, and about their religious practices are the people who were there, the people who met them, the people who communed and traded with them. They are the people who are actually there. They are our witnesses. And these witnesses have wrote numerous volumes of works concerning the Native Americans. And no one is more qualified than James Adair. He spent 40 years living with them. He ate with them. He cried with them. He attended their feasts, their festivities. He attended their places of worship. He saw them dancing to God. He saw them singing hallelujah to God. James Adair provides a unique window into the daily lives of the Native Americans. He also provides a unique window into how they worship God, into their relationship with God. And the best way to understand James Adair is to actually read him. And so let's take a look at James Adair and see what he had to say about the Native Americans and the way they worshiped God. Agreeable to theocracy or divine government of Israel, the Indians think the deity to be the immediate head of their state. All the nations of Indians are exceedingly intoxicated with religious pride and have an inexpressible contempt of white people, unless we accept those half-savage Europeans who are become their proselytes. Nothings is the most favorable name they give us in their set speeches. Even the Indians who were formerly bred in amity with us and in enmity to the French used to call us in their war orations Hot Umak Uk Prus, the accursed people. But they flatter themselves with the name Hotok Oretupa, the beloved people, because their supposed ancestors, as they affirm, were under the immediate government of the deity, who was present with them in a very, very particular manner, and directed them by prophets, while the rest of the world were aliens and outlaws to the covenant. Writer after writer in both continents of the Americas have repeated that all the nations of the Native American tribes that they encountered all believed that God is the immediate head of their state, as James Adair just confirmed. Let us see what else James Adair had to say. The American Indians are so far from being atheists, as some godless Europeans have flattered themselves to excuse their own infidelity, that they have the great sacred name of God that describes his divine essence, and by which he manifested himself to Moses, and are firmly persuaded they now live under the immediate government of the deity. And when we look at the Bible, we see that this is confirmed of the Hebrews of Israel, of ancient Israel, over and over again. Isaiah 43, verses 14 and 15. Thus saith the Lord, your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, for your sake I have sent to Babylon, and have brought down all their nobles, and the Chaldeans, whose cry is in the ships. I am the Lord, your Holy One, the Creator of Israel, your King. The Bible, in many different places, calls God the King of Israel. And here in Isaiah, God himself is speaking, and he calls himself the creator and the king of his nation, Israel. And so James Adair was pointing out that the nations of the Native Americans also considered God to be the king and the immediate head of their nation. Let us look at what else James Adair had to say. As the deity is the soul of every system, and as every nation from the remotest ages of antiquity believed that they could not live well without some god or other, when, therefore, we clearly understand the name or names by which any society of people express their notions of a deity, we can with more precision form ideas of the nature of their religious worship and of the object or objects of their adoration. I shall therefore here give a plain description of the names by which the Indian Americans speak of God. Ishtohulo is an appellative for God. Ishtohulo points at the greatness, purity, and goodness of the Creator in forming. And here, those two words are left out. And it's very interesting to note that in a few places in the copy of the book that James Adair wrote, The History of the Indians, in many of the places where he mentions a name of God, that name has been left out. I do not know why, but a couple of the names that he mentions have been left out amongst the books, among the book that he wrote that is being circulated. Let me continue. Ishtohulo points at the greatness, purity, and goodness of the Creator in forming blank and blank. It is derived from Ishto, great, which was the usual name of God through all the prophetic writings. Likewise, from the present tense of the infinitive mood of the active verb ahulo, I love, and from the preteritense of the passive verb hulo, which signifies sanctifying, sanctified, divine, or holy. Women set apart, they term hulo. For example, sanctifying themselves to Ishtohulo. Likewise, Nitak Hulo signifies a sanctified, divine, or holy day. And in like manner, Ukahulo, water sanctified. So that Ishtohulo, when applied to God in its true radical meaning, imports the great, beloved, holy cause, which is exceedingly comprehensive and more expressive of the true nature of God than the Hebrew name Adonai, which is applicable to a human being. Whenever the Indians applied the epithet, compounded to any of their own religious men, it signifies the great, holy, beloved, and sanctified men of the Holy One. They make this divine name point yet more strongly to the supreme author of nature. For as blank signifies Father, notice there's a blank, we don't know what word that they were using. Apparently the editors did not feel that particular word was necessary for us to know. Let me continue. And as the omnipresent spirit of the universe, let me start this sentence again. They make this divine name point yet more strongly to the supreme author of nature. For as blank signifies Father, And as the omnipresent spirit of the universe, or the Holy Father of mankind, is said to dwell above, they therefore call the immense space of the heavens Abba, Abase, or Abatara. And to distinguish the King of Kings by his attributes from their own Mingo Ishto, or great chieftains, they frequently name him Mingo Ishto Abba, Ishto Abba, or Mingo Abba. And when they are striving to make passions of the audience, Ishto Hulo Abba. The Hebrew servants were not allowed to call their master or mistress blank Abba till they were adopted, to which custom St. Paul alludes in Romans 8, verse 15. Here, notice while I was reading the paragraph, I said the word blank twice. The first one was at the beginning where we read, they make this divine name point yet more strongly to the supreme author of nature. For as blank signifies father, and here the editor did not leave the name, the holy name that the Indians had used for father. Perhaps in this particular spot, then it would have been obvious that this word the Indians used for father. When we look at the next blank in the paragraph, we read that Hebrew servants were not allowed to call their master or mistress blank, comma, Abba. And so the word that was in that blank would have been again the name that they use for father. And then James Adair offered clarity. After that comma is Abba. So whatever name that was in that blank meant Abba. The name that was probably in that blank is probably Ah, Father. Let us continue. It may be worthy of notice that they never prostrate themselves, nor bow their bodies to each other by way of salute or homage, though usual with the Eastern nations, except when they are making or renewing peace with strangers who come in the name of Yah. Then they bow their bodies in that religious solemnity. But they always bow in their religious dances, because then they sing what they call divine hymns, chiefly composed of their great beloved divine name, and addressed to Yahweh. And so James Adair found the Native Americans behaving in the exact same way as the ancient Israelites. He found the Native Americans calling God Yah. He found the Native Americans calling God our Father Ah. And James Adair recorded it all.